Hi, I'm Pauline and I live in Gloucester. I've lived here all my life, born here amongst all the rest of the black community. My job, I do work with children with autism, so I take them to school, special needs school, so I assist them on their journey and I take them back home. My dad came here, not on the Windrush boat like some others did. My dad actually came on a plane, but he came over here in the late 1958, 59. He came over here to meet with his sisters. Some of them were here already, and a few others followed him after. My mum and my dad decided to send for her about 2 years after he came, once he managed to save some money. I was born about 4 years after my parents, 4.5 years, but I did have a sister before me. She was about 2.5 years older than me. She passed away with a sickle cell disease. My mum had a daughter. My dad had a son from different partners before then. So I was always told about my brother and sister in Jamaica and that they would soon be with us. My sister was still with my mum's mother, and my mum's sister is out there. And my brother was still living with his mum and the other siblings. My sister came here when she was about 11, 12. And my brother came over, so he would have been maybe a bit younger. I think from we was growing up and we had sense that they could explain this to us. They were always telling us we had a brother and sister. And that we would see them soon. So when that actually happened, it wasn't too much of a surprise. It was just sort of like they went away on a holiday and came home. It was wonderful. It was actually exciting to get to know them and obviously get to know us. And when they came over, obviously they had questions to answer, new things to get to know. So it was fun, really. That side of it that I remember was just fun. I don't remember the details, but I just remember it was lovely having them as a bigger brother and sister. I idolised my big brother and I idolised my big sister. And I still do today, in a sense. When they came to live with us, yeah, the relationship was very good. We were very close. My mum and my dad made sure that everybody was included, nobody was ever left out, and nothing in the out of towards was ever mentioned that any of us was any different. So we were always brought up as a family, and that's how it was. It was never any different. As I grew up, things got different, yes, obviously. So when we were growing up, I didn't notice any difference at all. But as I grew up now, things changed. Things changed slightly. When I grew up, my parents didn't really treat us any different that I noticed at all. The only difference was as I got older, I noticed a little change. I think more of it was being spoilt, maybe a little bit of favouritism as well in some cases. I think because my mum and dad had one each, obviously as they got older and become man and woman, they both wanted different things. So, my dad would make sure my brother had what he wanted. My mum would always make sure my sister had what she wanted. And me being the next sibling coming down was seeing all of this. And I suppose maybe on a jealousy point, maybe I looked at it in that sense as a bit of favouritism. There was one occasion where I think we all felt a bit put out, actually, because my brother got favoured quite highly on this occasion. And my dad went out and bought him a car, which he wanted. And it was a shock to all of us because none of us didn't know. But yes, my brother had a nice Ford. I can't remember what the fast car was back in them days. But yes, my dad favoured his son a lot because him being a boy, I think, more. So we was all very jealous. Clifford always got what he wanted. As we've got older, I think obviously we've matured a lot more. So the brother and sister thing with separate parents just dissolved. It disappeared. It never mentioned, don't bring it up at all. It would only be brought up, if anything, in family get-togethers, weddings, funerals, etc. But for us as a family unit, no, it was never really brought up. We never made it an issue at all. My terms in relationship to Jamaica growing up were stories that I was told from my auntie that would come and visit my dad's sister and other siblings, my dad's other sisters that lived here in England, and my mum, and letters that we used to get, telegrams we used to send and they used to send. So we get to know the news from Jamaica as a youngster. But as I got older, I think the first time I went to Jamaica was when my mum and dad decided to go back home. Then I went over a couple of times, obviously, because they were there. And I was about 26 years old, and I brought my 3 siblings with me. And that's when I exposed them to Jamaica and the Jamaican culture and the way of life over there for the short period of time my parents were there in their retirement. When I went to Jamaica, I embraced it. I loved it. I think the people as well loved me. They didn't look at me as so much as English as they do with a lot of people that go back home to Jamaica, because I can speak a little bit of the tongue. But I just loved everything about Jamaica. It felt like home. I feel that the decision my parents made to leave their family and come to England and leave their children to try and make a new life in England, knowing that they both had one each at the age of less than 2 years old, had a big impact on them, because I know my mum and my dad, that was the first thing that they wanted to do once they knew they couldn't go back to England as soon as they wanted to, so they saved so much in order to be able to bring them both over here so that we could be a family unit. So the sacrifice I know that they made was huge, leaving their parents as well, and knowing that they couldn't go back when they planned to, or even what was promised to them when they first came here. I think watching my parents grow up and bring us up as Jamaican descendants here has made me see and value the sacrifice that they made, especially knowing the impact of leaving your family and not knowing that you can ever go back, your siblings, or even try to get them here. So, growing my children up and knowing all of that, I try to tell my children, I try to teach them all the sacrifices my parents made. I know they won't understand, but, I try to give them a little bit of the history. And I've always tried to bring them up as strong as I can in our culture, our Jamaican, African descendants culture. I like to make them know where they're coming from so they can make a decision on where they're going. The sacrifice that my parents made to leave Jamaica and come to England when they got the call to help to rebuild England after the war was a massive sacrifice for me, for knowing that they were going to leave their family and their siblings and to come to this country that they know nothing about was huge, because I don't think it was something that I could even contemplate. And to start a new life here, not knowing the culture or even where they were going to live. To me, I think it must have been a massive culture shock for them, a massive change around for their lifestyle, and, just the things that they had to go through in order to make a life, not just for themselves, but for us as siblings that was brought into the world after. So for me to look back at all of that and know the sacrifice they made for us, I have to explain all of this to my children so that they can be enriched in the culture and be grateful and thankful to my parents for the sacrifice they made to come to this country, so that they've got to live the life that they're able to live now, but to honour them for, what they've done coming here. I just couldn't imagine going through that and making that sacrifice for myself, even to this day. I couldn't imagine leaving my children at such a young age, leaving my homeland. It would just be a huge sacrifice. I don't think I would be strong enough to do it.